Bill Henshaw here again, your friendly local constitutional group from California. And the subject matter can't be more important and more timely, especially for parents with school children. As most of you are well aware of just how screwed up the system is and what changes need to be made. And Trump's going to be leading us. He's going to be doing away with the Department of Education with an executive order, by the way. And you wonder about that. Well, he can do it because that Title IX, since what's set up now with the public education system, all emanates from the 14th Amendment and federal regional martial law rule. That's the problem. And he can get rid of that as the commander in chief of the armed forces if the Supreme Court doesn't beat him to the punch. They have some serious constitutional problems that I'll be discussing here. But that's what we need to do, to get out there and fight for our kids, and especially in California, for example. And I think really throughout the country, this is an issue that needs to be almost totally under control at the county and maybe even city level, where parents can chime in and be heard on the rights that their children have and the rights of the relationship that they have with their children. So now you can't have a 9-year-old third grader standing up and saying in class, "Well, God made a mistake when I was born, and I should have been a girl, but I'm a boy." And now all of a sudden the school steps in on who knows what authority to help get him transgender care, this, that, and the other, and maybe even charge it to you, although you didn't authorize any of it. And it raises the question that even many of the Democrats are going to get here. Whose kids are they and why? If they're not yours, and when I grew up, I'm old enough that, parents had a lot more control in that era. And my grandfather told me if the government had come along and tried to do anything with his kids, he would have had a right to trial by jury back in the old days and gotten before members of the city he was in, and they would know him. He would know, and he would know them, and they would get a decision on the record against government interference because people knew parents know what's best for their children. And in my view, to reverse that simple common law setting would require at least clear and convincing evidence, even to get a hearing, and maybe beyond a reasonable doubt to get a child removed. And that's saying something. But that's the way it should be. Now we get our government back to the Republican form of government of defined and limited powers we're supposed to have, not today's much ballyhooed democracy, aka 3 wolves and 2 sheep voting on what's for dinner, aka today's elective despotism controlled by the New York banksters. We'll be far better off here and get all this LGBTQ crap out of at least elementary schools, certainly preschool, and maybe junior high school. And if it gets taught at all, it's going to have to be taught. And highlighting the fact that it's based on federal, regional, martial law of an amendment that not only doesn't exist, it never did. I can prove in fine a cappella expert witness fashion that the 14th Amendment was contemporaneously ruled unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court, as it should have been. And wouldn't you know, the current justices today know that as well as I do. It's a timing matter there, to be sure, but they know eventually what has to be taken care of. And with Trump soon back in office and Republicans having the Senate and the House, that conservative court's going to be there for 10 or 12 years and maybe more. That's a lot of bargaining leverage for us to work with, and I will teach you how to do that. So you get my modestly priced constitutional defense document package. Send me an email, uwinnincourt@gmail.com, and I'll not only tell you, I'm going to prepare an intro video for several people that you can pass along to, with me telling them if they don't change the way they do business or even get out of business they're not supposed to be in, this is what's going to happen. Because among other things, that U.S. Supreme Court, their bosses but our agents, has said, for example, that the court must exercise jurisdiction if it has it. It can't exercise jurisdiction if it doesn't. The one or the other is treason to the Constitution. And they know it today, and all its 14th Amendment track martial law rule uh, is maybe the best example there is of being beyond the bounds of the original intent of those racist framers. It's not even close. So once we make a good start there, and that benefits you, your family, and your posterity. That's what's important here. And we get more educated generations coming up that will know their rights and be able to take care of them and enforce them and help their kids do the same thing. That's the way we keep government under control, in addition to having the right to trial by jury according to the course of the common law and non-statutory federal habeas corpus. And those rights are secured to even inhabitants of territories pursuant to Article 2 of the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 as reenacted by the first Congress. And yet, as you will learn, and send me an email, by the way, uwinandcourt@gmail.com for information on my modestly priced materials. Those two rights in particular have vanished like farts in the wind over the course of the last 100 years. And I can prove it. The current justices know it, and they know what to do about it. And with my help, you can get there with what they're also going to understand to be an appropriate case. And you'll learn a lot more about that. It's really amazing when you learn the truth about the Supreme Court. But we can get there and do it in ways that people would never dream of, except that I know how to do it, and I'm in the process of doing it. And it's just amazing. It really is. And that, for me, at the age of 76, to feel as good as I do, and I have great health, I'm thankful for that divine intervention and for the divine power I have. I don't know how it happened. A good movie to watch on that, by the way, it's called A Beautiful Mind, a Ron Howard movie about a mathematician in a different era and a different field. But this is what's happened with me. I was put here to do this, and I intend to finish the job. A little luckier, I've got a good 8 or 10 years remaining. Maybe it's had more than that. And we can get out there and really make some differences here. It's exciting. And your kids will find the real law exciting too, and the history of the United States. And I'm looking for sponsors, by the way, in that area particularly, so I can do some much better quality videos from a visual and audio perspective and get them out there, and you can take a long look at them yourself and let your kids look at them. You're not going to see anything like this in schools. And yes, by the way, I can be easily confused as a crazed white supremacist, but that's the argument that wins, and you'll learn all about that. And once we all get on the same track here, Americans, Africans, and Asians, that's what they can't beat. And that's what they fear the most, because we all have common interests there. I'll be talking more about that on another video. But that said, send me an email for more information, uwinandcourt@gmail.com. Tell your friends, get the word out. The quicker we take action, especially with the present circumstances, the quicker we get our rights back for us, our children, and our posterity. Thank you.